Here we go. Welcome everybody. It must be Friday, continuing our free training. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a favorite topic of mine, building an audience, which is really building a community. And appreciate everybody on the text platform that gave me some great input. My private coaching people, please, thank you for the input for this, because it's been very valuable about what that means in an audience, in a community. And it's no better time than now to build your own audience. An audience, when I say your own, meaning your personal brand, your company's brand, your product or solution, or your service, all can have their own audience. And the first step of understanding how to build an audience or community is understanding your own frequency. Now, most of you know the story about how I learned about frequency. It's how I was motivated to meditate. I was on an airplane with a medical doctor next to me who told me that everything vibrates. The earth vibrates the slowest, then plants, animals, humans, sound, light, and then thought. And then she rocked my world by asking me what thought or what vibrated the fastest. And she then told me the truth. And your truth, your quantum truth, is your frequency. The truth vibrates the fastest. And the most interesting thing about frequency is that you yourself can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. Now, when you're building an audience or community, you have to understand and reverse that, knowing that whatever you say, whatever your product is, your solution, your service, that people that vibrate lower than the frequency of what you're trying to communicate cannot be aware of it. That's why it's not what you say sometimes, it's what they hear. And you are amazed, I'm sure, as me, if you have teenagers, that what you say is not always what they hear. And so it's very important to understand frequency and define it as that vibration. Another way to think about it is a frequency is you're the satellite shooting it out to all the different stations out there. And the higher your frequency, the more stations that can go ahead and tune into it. And the higher their frequency, once again, the more they can understand and be clear about what's being communicated. It's so important to have that frequency understanding your truth. Well, as you know, to find your truth, you need to take inventory of your values every day, personal, experiential, giving and receiving values, to know your own frequency, but it's directly tied to value. So the more value you have, the stronger the signal will be, right? The stronger the signal, because the greater the strength of the signal, the more people are motivated, inspired, or compelled to empower other people with your signal, to tell them about your signal, to allow it to grow. And one of the interesting things about knowing your own frequency is understanding the spectrum of people that you're trying to reach with that frequency. And so all of these variables are all truly vibrationally based or frequency based or channel based, right? You need to be able to tune in to the specific channel at the specific station with the specific message, because you want to be able to convey your content to someone else and have it be clear enough that they can pass that on to someone else, to pass on to someone else. This is where, in a key component of my own mission in life, which is to empower others simply to be happy, to understand one of the greatest truths of happiness. Happiness in the way I feel is my emotional thermostat, right? It's my thermostat to life. So everything equates back to that. In order to do that, secondly, number one, we find our own frequency, our own truth, which then is completely aligned with our organic or authentic self. But understanding value is critical. You need to establish the value, number two, of your frequency. And of course, that's directly related to the more the value, the stronger the signal. The value is also aligned as well with the spectrum that you're trying to reach. Something may be more valuable to 15-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 35-year-olds, 45-year-olds, and you don't want to be addressing a frequency of value to a 15-year-old with something that is aligned with a 45 or a 55-year-old. And so we have to be very specific about the values and be able to quantify those values. There's three things that need to be quantified when you're quantifying the value. One is, what are the reasons that people would feel that this is valuable? And we look into those reasons by being open about and more interested in what are the reasons that people find, a cooler for 16-ounce beer is valuable, right? That's a certain frequency. It has a certain spectrum to it. And obviously, we're looking at those values contingent upon quantifying the reasons to what impact would it have, right? Understanding the value of impact. That is it just impacting you or maybe your family or your friends or your community, your state, your country. Some things even impact the entire world, which increase its values, which increases its frequency. They're directly related to one another. And then finally, quantifying the actual capability of what your product, service, or solution, that capability, what is the quantitative value of that capability? So if I empower you to empower others to be happy, happy being the greatest virus of all time, simply by witnessing it, it spreads, it strengthens your immune system, it strengthens you emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially. I can quantify an exact value. If I could tell you, if you live your life happy 10% more of the time, you'll live 10% longer. I can quantify to you what that is. Or if you are happy, you will produce 10% every year more revenue. I can quantify, and that frequency will allow you, motivate you, and inspire you to carry that message on. And as arbitrary and subjective as the value of happiness is, we actually can use the reasons, impacts, and capabilities to quantify it. Well, how do we do that? We use the AAA strategy. And the AAA strategy starts with the idea of being more interested than interesting. We need to get alignment with the spectrum or the people that we're trying to reach. We need to align our values with them, as well as make sure that our frequency is equal to or less than theirs so they can be aware of it. And so alignment is 80% of what we do. Most people think that the action, and I used to think this when I was young, action was most important, right? I can outwork you, now, right? I sit there and I think about things and I get alignment with the frequency, the value, to make sure that I'm within the spectrum of those who I'm trying to reach. Alignment is 80% of the work. Because if you can get aligned, then the 20%, the next A from alignment, when you take action, you'll be more efficient, effective, and statistically successful. You'll get the power of 64. And the power of 64 is you're going to be able to have 16 hours of productivity a day instead of 8, twice as efficiency, which makes it 32 hours of productivity, at twice the statistical success, which makes it 64 hours of productivity a day. And if you separate your day by activity you get paid for and activity you don't get paid for, and you understand that 2 minutes a day is worth 2 hours on a Saturday, and you're able to do that every day, take vacation, have activity that you do get paid for, activity you don't get paid for, you can actually not only have 64 hours of productivity each day, which is equivalent to 8 days of productivity each day, but do it 7 days a week and literally have 56 days of productivity in 1 week. And then when people wonder, wow, how do you do that in 1 day? Wow, how are you able to keep accelerating, growing at such a pace with all the different things that you have? You're just beating them with math. That's the action that you want to take, but you can't take that type of action unless you have alignment. That's why 80% of your time should be more interested than interesting, finding that alignment. I'll give you another example. I have a 4-minute rule. The 4-minute rule says that I am consistently more interested than interested in aligning with the activity that I have in order to save 4 minutes a day. So what I do is I look at everything that I do monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, minutely, and I say to myself, how can I get better than that? And if I aggregate all of those different things to come to saving just 4 minutes in a day, it equals 3 full productive days a year, 24 hours a year, 3 full productive days. And you can see how that aggregates, accelerates, and exponentially grows within the context of what you're trying to do. So align yourself with the frequency, take action, again, with that frequency in mind that you must be equal to or less than those that you want to be aware of your frequency. And then finally, most importantly, with wisdom and age and experience, prepare for adjustment. From its basis and core of taking your own values, meaning your personal experiential giving and receiving, taking inventory every day, I prepare for adjustment of my values, meaning I'm very open to the fact that I'm a hypocrite. And that what I tell you today, I might come onto Friday training next week and say, you know what? I expanded, accelerated, and learned. I found the light, the love, and the lessons, what I was teaching you about frequency. And guess what? I've changed my mind and my values. And so please let me help you not pay the dummy tax and accelerate, learn, etc. So I prepare for adjustment. I go into my research as being more interested than interesting with the alignment, with the action and the frequency and vibration to make sure that people are aware of what I'm doing with a strong signal spectrum and a clear message. So it's not what I say, it's what they hear. And both of those are aligned with the action. And then finally, with the humility to understand, I don't know what I don't know. That's why I ask for so much help. That's why I know the golden question of, do you know anybody that can help me? Someone who actually sits in the situation that I want to be in so I can ask them for what they have or how to get it. It's that simple. But you have to be radically humble to understand that you must prepare for that adjustment. That's an important distinction. Most people go in and they maybe spend 1% of the time with alignment, 98% of the time on action, and luckily if they spend 1% preparing for any type of adjustment. Reorganize that to at least 80% of the time in alignment. In that alignment period, utilize and prepare for adjustment of that 80%, as well as use the 20% of action to also align with what you're preparing for. And don't be afraid to change your mind and your values. Number one, find your frequency, know your frequency, understand the vibrational stations that people tune into to make sure that you have a strong signal, the right people that you're talking to with a clear message. Two, understand your value, utilizing the AAA strategy. The third one, when we find, is a Shakespearean one. When we find the third one about building an audience or a community, it's really important to understand Shakespeare. Now, Shakespeare wrote that the whole world is your stage. The whole world is your stage. And it's never been true as much as it is now. You know, in the past, we could only reach so many people. Today, anybody with any type of capability, technological capability, that's an average capability, can now reach over 4.4 billion people and growing. Understand that number when I talk about 4.4 billion people. If you aggregated myself, Gary Vee, Ed Milet, Tom Bilyeu, and all of my great friends, and you aggregated all of the views, not just ambassadorship or followers, you know, all the views of all of us together, it would still be a micro increment of what's available to us of people that could be aware of us. Imagine that in you yourself sitting right there. If you are enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, you have access to those 4.4 billion people and growing every single day. So if that is true and the audience is so big, the possibility and probability of an audience is so big, over 4.4 billion people, I don't know how many stadiums that would fill, by the way, but a lot. If it's that big, then you must understand Shakespeare. That everything I do, the whole world is my stage. And if that's true, then I need to know four things. Number one, how am I capturing what I'm doing? If I'm building an audience, then the perpetual nature of that audience is that I better capture with all these great technological tools that are very inexpensive today. I must capture what I'm doing. Why? Because the more that I capture, the more I can modify. And I modify that according to the strength of my signal, the spectrum of my signal, and the clarity of my message. Because we have discussed that I can take and capture everything that I do today, and there's a portion that my 10-year-old son and his friends are going to really enjoy, and another portion that my teenage daughters are going to enjoy, and then another portion that my millennial employees are going to enjoy, and then a whole nother one of my own friends, family, and associates that will enjoy, and then another part of the training that my mentors who are 70, 80, 90, and even over 100 now will enjoy. All from the same piece of content, all because I was smart enough to capture it and modify it accordingly. And then after you capture it and modify it, you need to know which spectrum in order to amplify it on. Right? We have to know where to amplify, because you know, if I'm looking for my mentors, I may have to put this on the radio. And so as they're sitting there, you know, on the toilet, listening to their transistor radio with their one earpiece, and I know some of the guys in here that are watching live are laughing, and I'm thinking, not for my friends that are 70 or 80, they're still sitting there with an AM. And I'm not gonna be able to have my signal listened to. I'm not gonna be able to convey and empower them to empower others to be happy, unless I modify and amplify correctly. And then one of the most overlooked components when Shakespeare said the whole world is a stage is the ability to perpetuate all content. That's such a valuable thing, because in building an audience and building a community, the time of building an audience and community accelerates and grows, right? We need to look at things in its micro increments and have the patience of macro proportions. Right? We got to have huge patience, because anything that I do today that I capture, modify, and amplify may be seen by millions and millions of more people 20 years from now if I build a big enough audience. Still to be seen, it's stored, modified, and captured. And so if we see that the longest term content, the most valuable part of our content is how we're perpetuating that content, how we're perpetuating and creating a legacy of our ideas, then we're able to understand how everything we do can be utilized to build our audience in our community. Every single thing, not just for today, but for our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. We are planting seeds by understanding the stage theory. As Dennis Waitley said, we are planting seeds under trees that we will never sit under. But yet most people don't understand frequency. They don't understand the value of what they do, and they don't understand the importance of the stage theory and the perpetual nature of it. The fourth thing is the understanding of the community. Within a community, there's all these different sects of people. And that is true within your own community, within your own audience. And there's multi-variables that make it very difficult to, one, make sure the strength of your signal is right, the spectrum of your signal is addressing it, you're amplifying and modifying and capturing in the right way to hit all the different parts and independent and dependent variables of your audience or your community. And it gets to be overwhelming. There's viewers in your community, right? There's followers, there's ambassadors, there's, to like devotees, and then there's haters as well, and varying degrees of each of those different things. And so what's so important is to understand what audience you're trying to address and what you want from that audience. So I would go ahead and proportion out each of those. Now, to the point that I actually look and see one of the most important audiences that I have are the haters, and the ambassadors. Why are the haters, most of you are saying? Why would I care about the haters? Because number one, I want to make sure that my ego's in check, that I'm not giving energy to those in that which I don't want. The last thing I want to do is to give energy to the people, places, and ideas that I don't want in my life. I don't want to elect or vote for the things that I don't want. And so I have a continual strategy for haters and naysayers and laughers and making fun of and attackers, all those people. And my strategy for that is understanding and pray for their happiness in varying degrees, to make sure from firing people from my life, to running away from them, to just engaging at a different level, to allowing them to fall away, to embracing what they say and changing my own mind. Never to look to change a hater's mind, but always open to changing my mind if someone feels that passionately and are so aggressive to attack me. Now, more importantly, on a positive aspect, the ambassadors is another area that I look at. I take a Noah's Ark approach to building an audience. And in order to do that, you have to use segmentation. I tell people all the time about segmentation that if I can just get 2 people in one segment, that will empower 2 people and tell them, oh, listen to Dave Meltzer's podcast, to the elevator pitch, the Friday trainings, to whatever it is, read his books, stages, whatever you want. 2 people, that's all I needed when I started at 50 years old. 2 people a year that will go ahead and be ambassadors of mine and convince 2 people to read those books, listen to the podcast, come to my speeches, come to my training, whatever it may be. And if those 2 people do those 2 people in 20 segments, whatever the length of time is, there'll be 2 million people every year getting 2 more million people. Now, in the old idea of how many people that is, that sounds like a lot of people. That's bigger than any college in the United States. I'm getting colleges after colleges to ambassador me, colleges every single segment. But still in the realm of 4.4 billion people, 2 million people is just a tiny little speck. A tiny little speck. That's all it is. So we have to expand to the infinity of how many people our frequency and our value and the stage theory can allow to all these different segmented people in different segmented growth. Be the Noah arc of your audience. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. It will keep on growing. Your arc will grow. Your community will grow. I promise you. And segmentation is great because it has 2 components to it that you have to understand. The first is the speed of segmentation, meaning that you're going to get better, right? Your strength of your signal is better. You'll get more fierce about the spectrum that you're addressing and more clear on your message, so that it may take you a whole year to get your first 2 people. And then those 2 people, it may only take an 11-month period to get those 2 people. And then 10 months the next segment, 9 the next, all the way down to where every week you're doubling the amount of ambassadors that you have. So it may not take me till I'm 70 to get 2 million people, to get 2 million people a year. It may just take until I'm 55, who knows? And who cares? Because my focus is always on how can I gain that frequency with value in the stage theory to get the audience, whether it's followers, viewers, ambassadors, or haters, in order to effectuate that type of energy to empower others to be happy. Most people stop at 25% of the way there. They're not patient enough. 99% of you will stop. That's why there's so many podcasts started and 99% of them don't make it to 4 episodes. Go look at the numbers. 99 won't make it to 4 episodes. And then from there to 8 episodes, 99% of the 1% quit after that. But it keeps getting faster and faster. What's so fat is 1% of the 1% will get to 100% of the way there and keep growing to 200, 400, 800. It's unfathomable how infinity works, how time and that segmentation works. The second thing besides acceleration that happens is the exponential growth. The exponential growth is that doubling as fast as you can. And so our own senses and our own memory can't fathom it. So think and look for the micro growth and acceleration with macro patience. 4, consistency. My mentor, when I first started, the legend himself, Mr. V, Gary, when I handed him my Instagram for the first time for our first coaching, he looked at it, flipped through, and in 2 minutes, he's like, dude, you got to post more. Now, at that time, 3.5 years ago, I was like, what are you talking about? I post like 3 times a day and blah, blah, blah. I'm now deep into it. I can't post enough. I cannot post enough. I know that, I just got an email from one of my cousins, hey, can you unsubscribe me? And, my brother's father-in-law was like, man, I'm getting a lot of stuff from you. But for every one of those people that know you well, that will love you anyway, there's hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, and even billions of people that don't know you or what your frequency is. You have not touched them. And there's other people that you feel like you've touched and they have not heard or understood what you're saying. And it all sounds new. And then the majority of the people that are ambassadors of you, it's like me in the movie, The Greatest Showman. Right? My family makes fun of me because I watch that movie almost every plane ride. I listen to it, and I love the story. I love the music. I love the story. I'm like a little 5-year-old, Daddy, can you read me that story again? Right? Everybody has heard the jacket story or about me being poor and my mom packing my dinner in a paper bag. But remember, people love to hear good stories. They love to be motivated and inspired. It allows for conversion, right? One of the things that most people don't talk about in consistency is conversion. What do I mean by conversion? Is that there's content that I do, especially Gary, that will get you up or get you back up. It will get you started or get you restarted. And then there's inspirational things, YouTube, that have clear, 2-hour, 3-hour, 1-hour podcasts and this, how this was built and Nike versus Adidas. And I've been a part of a lot of these things. But what no one's talking about is conversion, because the first 10 minutes suck. And that's whether you're jogging, dieting, or listening to something new. Most of the time, we're resistant to a change. And so our mind, body, and soul, the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind say, this is hard. Why should I do something hard when there's something easy to do that I'm comfortable doing? Because it takes time to make something that you haven't done before comfortable. So you need to think in the process of conversion, how am I repetitively, through frequency, consistency of quality content, getting someone to convert from the start and restart, the get up and get back up, into inspiration where they feel connected to, so they're like me in The Greatest Showman. I can't wait to see that again. I love that. All right, finally. Why are we doing that? Well, I believe in making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun. You need to think about, in your frequency, in understanding your value, in the stage theory, capture, modify, amplify, and perpetuate, through followers, viewers, ambassadors, and haters, with consistency. Understand that you cannot do this often enough. As you grow and expand and accelerate, you need to figure out how you can make money, help people, and have fun. Or whatever your values are, your own personal experiential giving and receiving values, knowing that money is an object of energy, it's a currency. And that currency is put into the flow to get what you want. If you get what you want and it's the right things that will make you happy, which is my mission, and if you buy things you don't need for people you don't even like, or to impress people you don't even like, you'll live the old Dave Meltzer life and be unhappy, I promise you. But you need to figure out how you are going to materialize what you're doing through this process of frequency, value, theory, ambassadorship, and consistency. You need to figure out how you're going to materialize it. For me, it's monetization. That's how I materialize it. And that monetization is under the aspect of profitability, of providing more value than I ask for, the 120 rule, where anything I do, I want to provide more value than I'm asking for. But I even have turned it into another. I don't ask for it in the respect. I give value and open and make room for it and allow other people to ask me for what they need and try to accommodate that through profitability, or finding someone as a sponsor or a power sponsor of how I can help using the ask and attract strategy. There's no better time than now to create an audience in the community. In order to create an audience in a community, number one, you have to find your frequency. Practice the strength of that signal, explore the spectrum of your signal, and get better and clear on your message. Rise your frequency and allow more people to understand and be aware of yours by having a bigger audience, more people with statistical success. Utilize the stage theory at all times in your life. Try to capture as much as you can. Modify it to address who you're talking to. Amplify it in the right way with the right platform, the right size, speed, and strength. And look at how it's perpetuated for decades, if not centuries to come. Don't be afraid to be consistent in value. You cannot post enough, especially valuable, good content that's aligned with your frequency. And then finally, figure out your materialization strategy, whether it's to monetize it or to empower, whatever it may be. You need to have an objective of utilizing your frequency to empower others, mine being to be happy. I appreciate everybody coming to this every Friday. I appreciate you sharing it. The replays are available. I have guides for everyone. So please, if you want a free book, reach out to me. Right there, there's that number, 949-298-2905, david@dmeltzer.com. reach out right there, or you want a free book or the free guide to building an audience and community, free. I'm not selling anything. This is all for you to empower others to be happy. I appreciate everyone. Let's get to the fun part. Let's get to the Q&A. We'll get right on it. Thank you. If you could only do one thing to build your client base, what would you do? Oh, that's easy. Ask. Right? In person, on the phone, via email, social media. I would ask. Ask, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking to build my client base in this area. If it's only one thing, that's all I would do all day long. I would be the Home Depot checkout, right? The self-checkout at the Home Depot is the 3-to-1 sells more and builds more client base on warranties than any other part, than the pro checkout, the consumer checkout, the garden checkout. You add up all 3 of those warranties. Why? Because every time you check something out in self-checkout, it asks. Ask, ask, ask. It will work. I promise you. Have more people come on, to an office hour sometime and listen to people, the testimonies they give about, oh my gosh, you changed my life. I was in the bottom of my Salesforce, and all I'm doing is asking every single person if they know someone that can help me. Boom. They're like taking trips already and getting awards and have tripled, quadrupled, 10 times the amount of money they make simply by asking. And the other thing that's surprising me beyond asking is just the people that say thank you before they go to bed and when they wake up. Those are the 2 funnest things for me when I think about people who attribute or have been empowered to change their life to be happy. Is all it's like a joke in my house, right? Dad, are you kidding? Like, you tell people to say thank you and ask, and they think you're smart. Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? Yep, it works. And keep calling me smart for doing it. All right. Long question here. Thank you, Michael, by the way. Anna, if you were collecting data that's supporting how your coaching was helping clients achieve results, how would you record and package those results? Asking because I'm interested in showing my results to a more academic or scientific environment, i.e. an audience that is in addition to my client audience. Look, case studies are very simple. There's 5 things that you utilize in a case study, no matter what it is. And the first is credibility. So you want to display your credibility, however that may be, and you want to make sure you illuminate any of the weaknesses or mistakes or failures or challenges that you have. 2, you want to make sure there's an emotional attachment, what people like and what they don't like about it. 3, learn to quantify, as earlier previously discussed, the reasons that they should have your coaching, right? Quantitatively. Right? Not subjective value. Don't make me sing the Barney song. Everybody hugs each other and they love each other. No, we're talking about money or resources or time, hardcore quantitative facts. Same thing with the impact, quantitate those, and then capabilities. So look at your capabilities. So my capabilities are simple happiness and profit. Right? Like, I literally, anything I do for free or in the private groups that I do or one-on-one or speeches or books or elevator pitch or the podcast, whatever I'm doing, 1, profitability, make more money. 2, help more people, right? And have more fun, be happy, right? To me, there's no better pursuit than being of service or value to others to create happiness. So it's literally just profit and happiness. That's the quantitative value that I have. And then knowing that I use the features and benefits to support my credibility, emotional attachment, quantification of reasons, impacts, and capabilities. That's all the feature and benefits are used for and from. No matter how scientific, mathematical the audience is, or how young, if you stick to that, you will be golden, especially understanding the credibility side. 3, Janet. Sorry. How do we take one step to step into that frequency daily? Well, everything that we do should be step by step, bite size, lower the bar, and make sure that whatever we do today, according to our frequency, that we should do every day. And not that we should do it, that we can do it. In fact, we must do it. The most common denominator of those people that are able to effectuate what they want in their life, they must be what they can be. Most people lie to themselves about 90% of the time of what they think they must be. I've asked them, I see it. You can feel it when you're interviewing them. They'll tell you, they'll talk the talk, but there's, that percentage that come in and you just know. They must be what they can be. They're the ones who, cry in the office because they care so much. They must be what they can be. They want it so bad that they can taste it. And the only way to do that is to do things every day, to work within the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum, to take bite size, lower the bar. Lower the bar. If you want to go and get in great shape, then just first day, tell yourself you'll put your tennis shoes on. Watch what happens. Your natural expansive nature will continue to overachieve. But if you try to run a marathon your first day, even if you're capable of doing it, not going to be running the second day, I promise you. I promise you. Great question, Janet. Thank you. Blaine, how did you get your first ambassadors? So I got my first ambassadors by posting, right? I created a vlog. I decided, I have a pretty cool life. People find it fairly entertaining. They find me fairly entertaining. Why not have a guy following around with a camera and capture a whole bunch of content and then pick out the best content and post it on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., and see who likes it, who feels moved by it, who not only feels moved by it, but will tell somebody else to move by it. And I was just looking for 2 people in my first year. That was the first segment, and the timing and expectation that if I just can get at least 2 people in my first year to tell 2 people, and I never looked back. So kind of combo Janet's question with Blaine, right? I just build that frequency, and I've learned so much about my own frequency and audience and community over 3.5 years of doing this now that I never would have believed, from how frequently I can do it and consistently and what level. My biggest problem initially was that I did not speak to what people could be aware of. The terminology that I used, the manner in which I taught wasn't at a frequency where more people would understand it. And I was so far beyond, thinking about what people would find interesting that I thought, oh, everybody knows to say thank you before they go to bed and when they wake up. That's just, for me was repetitive. But I will tell you, I still would tell everybody out there, I think it's great advice. You want to change your life, say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. Do it for 30 straight days. Number 1, watch how hard it is to do for 30 straight days. Most of you won't even do it tonight. Even though I've been around the biggest thought leaders in the world, some people think I'm fairly intelligent and understand this stuff. And by tomorrow morning, another half of you won't even say thank you. And by 3 days, almost everyone won't say thank you. I have said this probably 100,000 times in the last 2.5, 3 years. But it's still valuable. Hopefully one person in there will change your life and say thank you. All right, let me get to the next one. Could you provide some examples of meeting the same frequency or less than? Yeah, so one of those examples is talking about things that are repetitive or simple in nature that you may not find. And if you watch my content, look and see some of the stuff that resonates the most with viewers and followers and likes compared to ambassadorship. So, if you're looking for an ambassador, a leader that can empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people. For example, I had on today, Cindy Eckert sold her company for $1 billion, has the power to do that. But yet, if you look, I can put up a Post-it note or, the Meltzer videos that my daughter Mia does that are exceptional, or just post up my routine or something like that. It'll kill it. It'll absolutely kill it. And so understanding, the frequency of what I'm putting out, I have to make sure I'm talking to a teenager who's just starting out that hasn't heard these things 16 million times without boring Cindy Eckert, who has the capability of empowering 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people. We have to work within that spectrum. And so hopefully that example will show you. Saying thank you is one that's just an extraordinary one. Mike, is your frequency something that you can learn or know, or something that we have to figure out through trial and error? Does your frequency change as we evolve? Yes, yes, and yes. Absolutely. Frequency is something that we can learn. It's a practice, right? It's a practice. So what do we look for in that practice? Pain. Pain is an indicator, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial indicator that we have something to learn. And so when we have pain within our frequency, people laugh at us, scoff at us, don't understand what we're saying, whatever it may be, that's an indicator that you have something to learn. And then it says, is it something to figure out through trial and error? I would say overall, the most money that's wasted on media is because people represent that they know what they're talking about, and all they're doing is trial and error with your money. So you're better off paying somebody to do the trial and error with your own money, knowing and utilizing that expectation. I've gone through literally hundreds of people that have made representations, and only one, I'm gonna give a shout out here, Chris Chung. He came to me and said, hey, I don't really know what is going to happen, but what I will do is work with you and make sure that we are the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful in the trial and error. And let's learn together, and let's make more money, help more people, and have more fun together. So that was beautiful. And great guy. And he's worldwide for me. Does our frequency change as we evolve? Everything. If your frequency is you, right? And the idea, how is frequency produced, by the way? Let me help you out real quick, because this is interesting. Frequency would be what people would maybe equate to the law of attraction, right? Likes attract likes. So your frequency would attract the same type of frequency. This is the law of attraction. Most people would create a vision board, which would create a frequency, and they think that what they put on their vision board is what is attracting the house that they want, or the cool Ferrari, or all the things that I had put on my vision board when I watched The Secret with my mentor, John Asseroff, who also taught me the law of Goya, by the way, which is part of this story. What I thought was there was a direct connect between what I think, say, and do and my frequency. So I thought, okay, if I think, say, and do something and believe it, then that would send a direct connection or a frequency out to attract what I want. And that if I was raising my awareness to look at patterns of why was this attracted into my life through accountability and what am I supposed to learn, then I could start gathering how to get things to come to me faster through the law of attraction. And I believe in the law of attraction, but I believe that you need the law of Goya first, meaning get off your ass, think, say, and do the same things again and again and again, so that the data that you want, by canceling, clearing, connecting the negative data that you don't want, meaning you're not voting for the people that are laughing at you, scoffing at you, making fun of you. You're not worried about things and focusing your energy on what you worry, because you're going to get more of that. You're only controlling your environment of the law of Goya to think, say, and do what you want, including vision boards. That's cool. Then it's going to go, after a minimum of 21 days, into your subconscious, which hosts 40,000 of these requests. We call them thoughts. I call them requests, right? What we think, say, and do to me is a request for what I want. So is the thoughts that are harbored within the subconscious of mine. These are just requests. Requests of what, though? The 40,000 thoughts that I have in my mind, they're the requests that I keep accessing every day. There's the midterm database of memory. I keep every day. What I think, say, and do is requesting the universe for something. Then what is in my subconscious, it's requesting as well. But it's not requesting direct out with a frequency. It's requesting me, my quantum DNA. It's requesting my unconscious competency. It's requesting the memory, the long-term memory that is ancestral. It's been passed down by minimum medically proven great-grandparents, grandparents, to my parents, to me. But I believe in lifetimes, and you can think I'm crazy, it doesn't bother me. I believe it's come down from multiple lifetimes of information. And so all that I'm doing by being consistency in this idea of frequency is the frequency works internally first through the law of Goya, making requests internally of my being, my quantum nature. It's making a request by what I think, say, do, and believe into this stored database of my personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions. And those are the antennae. Those are the satellites that are sending out a frequency, and we can only change them. It's why we're not genies, right? I wish I could tell you I knew how to say, I want a red Ferrari, and you blink your eyes. I know most of you aren't old enough to know this show, but there's a lady named Jeannie, and she just blink her eyes and it appear. Well, the process of appearance through the infinity of time, if you think about it, actually does occur. It's just there's an infinity of time, so it takes time to think, say, and do, believe, have our personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions change so we can make the request like a wish of a genie, and then it will appear through the law of attraction. It'll materialize. Now, this is a classic example of frequency, because I imagine there is a high percentage of you right now that are like, I'm viewing this, but I don't believe it. I'm following this, kind of believe it. I love this. I'm an ambassador of this. And of course, my favorite, F Dave Meltzer. He's a moron. I hate him and I'm a hater. That's an example of what I just told you of varying degrees of frequency, because I played with a variety of different concepts at different vibrations and frequency for a multitude of spectrum audiences that may grab onto 1% or all 100%. And some of you may even gather with great clarity that they're going to go ahead and replay this and share it and send it to other people to inspire them. And other of you right now have dropped off. No, not yet, but you might hate me anyway. That's exactly what we're talking about in teaching. What I just did is an exact example of my frequency, understanding value, stage theory, ambassadorship, consistent behavior, and of course, how do we then materialize it? All right, I'm stoked now. David, just by seeing your passion during this video inspires me to get back up off my ass. Right on, you're motivated. Life is hard. First 10 minutes of life are hard. Life is not hard. The first 10 minutes are hard, but also it's only as hard as we make it. Yep. I will be studying real hard on all your Zoom videos to be productive and happy, accessible and gracious. Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate it so much. Please go back, replay it, share it. My favorite name, Anonymous. How do I even become aware of my frequency? Practice, practice, practice. You can practice frequency, vibration, and intuition. I was on a coaching call today, and I told someone, she said, what do you miss most about traveling on airplanes? Because I travel on 200 airplanes a year normally. I said, to be honest, I have to figure out a new way to practice my intuition, my frequency, my vibrations. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, you know, a lot of times on an airplane, I'm looking for productive, accessible, and gracious things to do. So Bob Proctor, one of my mentors, taught me to stare at the back of an airplane seat and try to get the person to turn around and look through the crack at me. Practicing is a muscle, my intuition, my frequency, to see if I could attract what I want. And so I would spend invariably, because I believe 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours in, on a Saturday, I would spend a minimum amount of time every time I'm on this flight trying to move the person in front of me. And at first, no movement, got a couple wiggles, a few months into it. Now that I'm years into practicing that, I can get people to turn around and look as if I'm tapping them on the shoulder. That's frequency. That's how I become aware of it. Giving little tests, little examples of how I walk into a room, for example, and if my nephew, who adores me, or hopefully he still does, if he turns around and runs up to me, just he feels me enter a room, or people light up when they see me, or do when I walk in, they look right through me without any engagement. That's a frequency. So you need to practice being aware of patterns and of effects and effects to your own frequency, and practice it the same as you would at running. It's a practice. All right, next one. What do you do when you doubt yourself? Stop, drop, and roll, right? Stop, drop, and roll. If you doubt yourself, there's a shortage of void and obstacle and interference and corrosion to the greatest source of power, light, and love and lessons that you're always connected to. You are not at one with what you are. You are a co-creator. You're the only species that can create your own environment. The only one. Everyone else is placed in it and happy to be in it. Not you. You are a commander of your life. You're someone who works with the universe, always connected to it. And if you have doubt, which, by the way, I have every day, but I only want to live doubt. I only want to experience or live doubt in moments. Used to be minutes, used to be days, used to be weeks, used to be months, used to be years that I lived in doubt. It's just a practice. You got to practice stopping when you're doubtful and cancel it, and ask yourself, cancel, stop, cancel. I'm not afraid of this. I am worthy. I am pretty. I am smart. I am worthy. Whatever it is, you need to stop and cancel and clear it all out and say to yourself, like a ferocious Buddha, stop. I am, and blank whatever you are. I am health. I am wealth. And then drop down like a Buddha, breathe, and then be ferocious about rolling back into the direction of what you are. Two most powerful words, two most unraveling words of my life. If you want to replace anything you want in your life, the confirmation or mantra of I am in its essence, right? When I was in 11th grade, I studied Kierkegaard. I had no effing clue. It was on the wrong frequency. I wasn't ready to hear it, just like I wasn't ready to hear my dad tell me that money didn't buy happiness or love, or my best friend Robbie telling me that I surrounded myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas, or my wife telling me that I was lost. I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't ready to hear I am. But if you are ready, if it's at your frequency, think about if you truly believe you are connected to the greatest source of energy, light, and love, and connected to everything else, that a tree has no branches, that one branch would not go to war against another branch. If you truly believe that, then all you got to do is say, I am. I am smart. I am wealthy. I am healthy. You're sending out the frequency through the system I just explained to you of what has already happened, of what you are a part of. Because if I'm a part of Jeff Bezos, then I am a trillionaire. If I am a part of the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, then I am happy. And if I am connected to all that is, then I am worthy of everything that I already have. Think about how powerful those words were, but in the context of building a community and an audience, think that there's a bunch of 17-year-olds that are watching or will rewatch this going, I don't get it. That's okay too. I am, and so are you. All right, some tips on low budget app startup. I assume tips to start an app. So there's two portions of an app that you have to think about. One is the quantitative value of that app, the frequency of that app, all the things that I talk about. What is the frequency, the value, how you're going to capture what that is about in the consistent behavior. But the other side is on any piece of content, it only holds the energy of how many frequencies, channels, stations that you're connecting it to. How many actually are resonating with the clarity of your message? Same thing with an app. And so one of the components is a variable of how much time, money, and ambassadorship will it take in order to effectuate a profit for you. It's math to me, whether it's an app, a book, a podcast, sitting on a stage, whatever you want to do, it's literally a mathematical equation of how many people will this take and how will I get those people in order to create a profit and make me happy? And I can work through that with you if you want to reach out. Anyone with these kind of things as well, david@dmeltzer.com, 949-298-2905. Just go ahead and reach out. These are really time and risk tolerance. The math of it is formulatic. I have exercises and guides. I work with people directly to guarantee that profit of how that happens. But it works the same, whether it's a startup of an app or a restaurant or something else that you may be working on. Gerardo, I have a great little fashion company. Awesome. How can I get to another countries or states in my country? Be more interested than interesting. Find the people that sit in the situation that you want, that have the capabilities that you want, have, or need. Find how synergistic and supplementary those capabilities that you have are to what they're doing, and then be more interested than interesting and ask them for help. Ask them to give you what they got or teach you how to get it, and partner with them in profitability in order to do so. Think about it. We are so afraid. If we are whole and we are connected to each one, then we should be excited about giving part of us an opportunity to help us as well. People ask me all the time, what's the number one piece of advice you give your 18-year-old self or your 28-year-old self or your 38-year-old self? Or believe it or not, and I'm sure you do, that I even could go back to ask my 48-year-old self. Same thing. The advice that I give myself all the time is be radically humble. Know that you are connected to everything and everyone the same way when they ask you for help, how great you feel, you're going to give them the blessing of the same. So go ahead, be more interested than interesting. There's a thing called the internet and Google. There's a whole bunch of people, emails, and social media and telephone apps that can help find people that sit in the situation that you want to be in and ask. Whether they're in a different country or a different state, it doesn't matter. They exist out there and they're waiting for you to make the investment in you to make them feel good by allowing them to give you the capabilities they have to enhance your life, to make you more money, to help more people and have more fun. I've never felt bad when somebody asked me for help. I felt bad if I couldn't help them. But then I always have the option to find someone that can. And that's where I go. All right. Raja, hello from Edmonton, home of the world champion Edmonton Oilers, home of the Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon for 5 Grey Cups. Welcome. I'm a little bit biased. Happy to be a part of your personal coaching group. The private coaching group. Okay, I'm glad that you're in there as well. David, when it comes to scaling potential new staff, how much time, money, and resources do you spend to help educate them? It's predetermined for me, right? It's predetermined when I'm in what I call the learning stage of a business, the scaling stage, which is the first stage of scaling a business. I have gone through the math and number one, put a point of time through my experience, because if I don't have enough experience to know how long it will take to get someone to break even, then I shouldn't be scaling. And then utilizing a technique in the learning stage of how much time it takes to break even, that one, they watch me, two, they work with me or their boss, or three, then I watch them so that I can leave them and they can do that to somebody else. When they can do that to somebody else, they're in the execution phase of scaling. And that allows me, the point of a business is to make money. The point of scaling of the learning stage is to get to a break-even point to able somebody and allow them to do and mirror the exact same thing that I can do, the same capabilities that I can do. In order to do that, I need to have a mentorship program to empower others, to elevate ourselves. So go ahead and figure out how much time should it take someone to be a break-even employee to allow me to show them what to do, work with them while they're doing it, watch them do it, be able to drop off so they can do the same thing to somebody else. It's all math, my friend. We can make it happen. All right, last question real fast. Rico Moreno, my friend, in business, how do you prospect the main decision maker, either the CEO or the CMO? Spheres of influence, right? What we want to do is realize that everybody is a sponsor. There are no gatekeepers. First, you create resistance and avoid shortages and obstacles when you think that there is a gatekeeper to the CEO or CMO. Be more interested than interesting. Find the spheres of influence of the CEOs and CMO. I use charities and philanthropies a lot of times, which are great spheres of influence in order to get credibility, emotional attachment, have the opportunity to quantify the reasons, impacts, and capabilities. Use your mind in order to connect to people at their level. Make yourself equal, then make yourself different. Know and speak to the level that you're speaking at. You can easily get to a CEO or CMO if you know their sister, their mom, their community, whatever it may be, helping their charity, helping to help them, to provide them value or service. But the minute you think that there's gatekeepers to that person, maybe you think there's inferiority or superiority or separation to a CEO or a CMO, you won't be able to effectuate the communication that you need. You won't be able to have credibility, emotional attachment, won't be able to put a business case together for them so you can ask them that ultimate critical question of doing business with CEOs and CMOs, the ones that they really know, which is, can you see any reason you wouldn't want to move forward? All right, that's it for today. Please text me 949-298-2905, david@dmeltzer.com. Free training guide from today, free exercises from today, free book. If you haven't got my book, request my book. It's free. I promise you, I would love to help you, to be of service and of value. Please, any of the people who I'm working with, you know I am here to be of service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is how we build an audience. This is proof we can build a community. Remember, everyone, next week, same time, same bat channel, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Please join me. One quick thing for my private coaching group. We are going early on Monday at 2 p.m. So join 2 p.m. for our office hours instead of 3 p.m. Pacific time. Everybody out there, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Love you all. Thank you.